Hi, my name is Barbara Mclean, and when I was 14 years old, I was sexually abused. I met a boy who was playing football. The relationship turned exploitative immediately and quickly turned violent, abusive, and almost to the point where I was trafficked. I was repeatedly sexually assaulted by this individual and at a couple of times by several perpetrators. We went to a shed that a lot of kids went to like fool around or get high. We were making out. I was allowing him to touch me. And this was my very first time. And a second person just came in the space. He hit me and he held me down while the other person had sex with. I wasn't on birth control. I had no idea I was even going to have sex. Like I was not physically or emotionally or clinically prepared for any of this. And this happened 3 more times. Each time there were additional people. He would physically assault me every time. There was like a show of force. She's not going to resist because she knows that I will hurt her. From my neck to my knees, I was just a map of bruises. My breasts and my thighs were just mutilated. I kept it to myself. I remember taking a bath with a t-shirt on and my mom walked in the bathroom. She was just kind of like, what is it today? And then the last time there was several people. That's when I was really just so bruised and so beat up that I didn't go home. I was not too far from an acquaintance's house from school. And it was really like, I was thinking on my toes. I knocked on the door and I was like, hi, I need to call my mom. And I didn't say anything. And my mom is like, what happened? It was like late at night. I didn't want to talk about it and they didn't push it. They got me therapy. I didn't want to talk about it. The next time the perpetrator tried to get me to go anywhere with him, I started to scream and yell, this will not happen to me again. Because one time I won't come back. I can't physically heal, but I did not emotionally heal. I didn't know how. And I just wanted it to go away. Physical pain will stop and the emotional pain will follow in due course. It caused a lot of poor choices, like the choices that I made regarding myself. But I became a mom when I was 17. I met a boy who was also sexually exploited as a child. I was the strong one. I was someone else's safe space. Let's do the smart choice. How about 2 broken children make another child and see how that goes? Even to this day, I have a challenging relationship with my older son because I don't think that I wasn't a healed human, and I don't think that I was a healed or prepared parent at any time. While I was pregnant, my sister passed away. I was not really who he needed me to be, like that safe space that he expected from me. My friends were like distancing themselves because I really was not capable of doing ordinary 17-year-old things to get really kind of like loud and angry. He had convinced me to not give up the baby because I was pretty much like, well, if I give up the baby, I can just go on with my business and live my life. At the beginning, there was like a promise of I'll be there, need me, and then that just did not pan out. That wasn't how it went. We figured maybe if we get married, something will change. Like marriage is a magic bullet or whatever, and it's not. He just started not being present and being like a recreational drug user. We got married in 1980 when our baby was about 3 months old. It really didn't last very long. And I don't think we made it till I was about 18 and a half. And then it just sort of fell apart. His drug use got the better of him. And my parents were kind of like, you can come back home and bring the baby and see how it goes. And I did. Then a few years later, I met husband number 2. It did look like it was really emotionally abusive from the very beginning. I was very manipulated, starting really from the jump. We worked together. We had a lot of the same friends. Made me feel a lot of guilt about having a child. There was a lot of times where I had to choose between making him happy or being a good parent. And I have to admit, I made the wrong choices. I was very codependent, emotional abuse, a lot of intellectual abuse, an incredible amount of financial abuse. a fair amount of physical abuse that I did put a stop to pretty early in the marriage. I was like, if you beat me, I will press charges. If you don't beat me, then we'll make this work. But it didn't work. It worked for about 15 years. And then I got out of it almost every single day. It was like the cycle that one goes through when you're in a relationship with a narcissist. There would be a honeymoon phase that would almost be magical. And then it would go in the counterclockwise circle until it just blew up again. Cops came. And I started to dislike myself, and I didn't want to be that person. I remember one time being really unkind to my sister. We were tailgating before a Springsteen concert in the Meadowlands in New Jersey. And she said something, and I said something mean, and it was uncalled for. That was a turning point. I didn't want to be that person, and I had to be that person at home. And it just wasn't nice anymore. Like, it's much easier now for me to notice the benchmarks that I missed in that relationship as far as verbal abuse. You know, anything that didn't go his way, he made it seem like I was completely incapable and that I really should be trying my level best to do this or that, because he kept trying to make me feel like I was never going to be this worthy person. I ended up going into therapy so that I could own my sexuality, because he was like, whatever you went through, it makes you like frigid. And I was like, oh no, I don't want to be that person. I've learned to take control of my sexuality, which I will tell you, he never really wanted that, because then he couldn't keep up and he was in no position, like he had no desire to change. Here I am, and I'm like, growing in leaps and bounds. I'm the office manager of a division of McCann Erickson. He's still telling me that I'm nobody. And I'm 39. I'm an office manager working for Interpublic Group. I coach Little League. I teach Sunday school. And I throw like spectacular dinner parties. It's like, what do you want? We shared a cell phone till my son was 13. So I go to the T-Mobile store, and the guy's like, pretty much for free, you can have a phone too. I'll do that. I did it without explanation, without permission. I was free. And that was the one thing that could never have been allowed. He had to have control. He sabotaged the car. I was driving to the shore, my son and my son's friend in the car. The hood just flew up against the windshield. I pulled over, the latch was broken, and I waited for somebody to come help me, and I took it to the mechanic, who said that it did appear like it was tampered with, even though my ex denied it numerous times. And I was like, I'm done. But then the next time I had an issue with the car, he twisted my hand until I gave him my car keys. And he was like, you can't have keys to the car until you stop being stupid. I would never tell me what was really like what the issue was. Every time he had a problem with me, I had to stop being stupid. He took the car keys away on a Monday evening. On Thursday, he was removed from our home. The charge that I placed against him was menacing. He was not allowed to live. He was not allowed to be within 500 feet of me. He moved like 501 feet away. He could see the light go on when I got home. At least once a week for 2 years, there was crazy glue in the lock. It's like learning to dance to the tune that he was playing ended up giving me so many life skills and so much power. The day after he was removed, I went to our joint bank account and there was nothing in it. It was $22,000 and there was nothing in it. I was like, I don't need to be tied to a monster for the rest of my life. I'll let it go. We'll take your $22,000, take your MTA pension, take whatever it is you brought into this horrifying disaster, and just go. And I went to school 3 nights a week for 7 years. And I went from having high school diploma to a master's degree. I loved it. I work in human services now as a QIDP, a master's level care manager for people with developmental disabilities. That was the first time in my life where I put myself front and center. For my 60th birthday, instead of having a party, I took a solo trip to Ireland, have a relationship podcast now with 2 of my very best friend talk about what works and what doesn't work. And there's no shame. And I do stand up about all the bizarro, wacko things that my relationships has taken me through. I become the person that I needed. Then I became the person that a lot of other people need. I'm an advocate for the physically disabled, the developmentally disabled, people whose sexuality and gender identity is. And it's like a full circle thing. My gender and my identity and my abilities weren't respected. They were harmed and brutalized. Now I live a life where that just doesn't happen on my watch. If you're watching this and you are in a situation where someone is harming you, someone is verbally or physically or sexually abusing you, get help. Tell someone, go to a reliable authority if you don't have family support. But it's scarier to have your life threatened than to voice your fears. If you don't have a voice, use someone else's. There's always people with big mouths out there. They're willing to help you. Don't be afraid. Be more afraid of staying in an abusive situation than telling someone that you're being abused. You're not at fault. You're surviving this.